Hello and welcome back to the CLSR, and I'm your host, the counselor. Today we're going to be talking about how to find that special someone, that female that you want to have as your partner, your lover, your friend, your companion, your confidant, that certain one that makes your life complete. Oh, of course, we all want that. And if you don't have it, you'll give anything to get it. Doesn't matter. There's too many of you out there that have been looking in every spot possible. You've been told lies, and you don't realize that your life is not going to change unless you work on you. And yes, I said you. The reason why you're not successful at finding someone good for you is because it's you. And you never looked at you. You never thought about the actions, the ideas, or the baggage you've carried that have stopped you from being successful in this department. See, relationships are foundation for living, right? Realistically, if you think about it, if you're not in a relationship, some sort of relationship, some sort of connection, what's life about? What is the point of achieving if you cannot share it with people? What is the point of having a good life if you don't understand that walking alone is like a dog without a bone, a house without a home, a king without a throne, a body without the bone? It's pointless. You see, many of you don't know where to start because you've just gone on in your life growing and thinking and guessing and assuming what is going to work. Many of you hoping and praying, or you have influences in your life that even have to set you up with someone prearranged. And it's different things for different people. However, for you to have that mental freedom, the understanding that it takes work and openness and truth to find that one for you, you have to be completely honest and genuine with yourself. And I'm going to tell you, the counselor is going to tell you, anything that you're not getting in this world is because of you. So, specifically related to relationships, the reason why it has not worked is because, number one, your attitude, your beliefs, bad habits, mannerisms, peers, your standards are either too high or too low. You are considered a low value man. You don't understand yourself. So how are you going to understand on how to acquire an individual to share your life with? You lack understanding. See, this is stuff that they don't teach you in school. And that's the problem. Oh, they'll teach you about the math, the language. They'll teach you about sexual education. But what we fail to do is to learn about each other. We fail to learn about that human being and some understanding that is required to work and relate to other human beings on any level. See, once you do that, the rest is simple. However, we can't get past ourselves. We don't want to look at ourselves. We're always pointing the finger. I told you, people, we're selfish people. See, we don't look at our faults. We point other people's faults out. We don't look at where we could change, how we can adapt and improve ourselves. And I'm not talking about school. I'm talking about the rule. And the rule is understanding human beings, how they function, how they operate, how to work with them, how to support them. Forget the bias and the prejudice and the stereotypes. All this negative baggage that we've acquired over the years have stopped us from finding our true love. We have adopted a negative way of thinking. So we have compiled all these layers on ourselves to the point that we can't be free. We can't see past those layers. Those layers are holding us back. They're stopping us from seeing clearly what needs to be done. So, firstly, we have to work on you, the individual. Why are you still searching? Or if you were in a relationship, why is it not sustainable? And why did you lose that person that you did have? You see, once you're out of the relationship, you want to start looking and blaming the other person. However, there may be faults there. However, the one thing is, you're not looking at yourself and improving. You're not improving and increasing and enhancing that personal power. But here you are, ready. Ready and willing. Hoping and praying. Wishing and thinking. When am I going to get things to go my way? Well, I'm here to tell you today's that day. Today's that day where you get real with yourself. You're honest with yourself and you're reflecting. But what are some of the things that are stopping you from being successful in acquiring a wonderful relationship? Wonderful, respectful relationship. Well, first you have to say, what have you been trying? You've tried everything. I've tried the online dating to find a good woman, right? I've worked at the gym. I've been hooked up by friends and family. I've done so many different things. However, I'm still not successful. So what should I be thinking about? What can I work on? Well, you're going to work on you. And first you have to tell yourself, there's more to this. See, you have to think more about who you are more than how you look. A person with that positive personality trait, they are much more attractive to the opposite sex than those without positive personality traits. Are you a positive individual? I mean positive and appreciative for life. Are you a negative individual or a positive individual? What comes out of your mouth on a day-to-day basis? See, because if you have negativity coming out of your mouth, it deflects opportunities. And this is what people don't understand. You might be of the same culture or same race and you have that perspective that we are better than others. So what you do is, unbeknownst to yourself, negative comments about other cultures and other races come out. See, this is limiting behavior because people are specific to their cultures and some are positive to other cultures, which limits their availability and opportunities to see love in all its various forms. It has its limitations. So you need to make sure you're a person with positive character traits. As well, you need to be taking care of yourself. You need to clean yourself up. You see, because 90% of single women, they prefer a well-dressed man. It says something about you. See, they prefer a well-dressed man over a rich one. And that doesn't necessarily mean a suit and tie. A little something to make you look nicer than normal. Like something that might stand out. Like a nice, casual, cool jacket. Wrinkle-free clothes. Clothes that aren't torn. Clothes that are well kept. clothes that are neat and clean, clothes that match your eye color. These are specifics. Taking care of yourself, making sure your hygiene's in check, you're clean and pristine. You see, today we're going to talk about things that you can do to dramatically improve your situation. Not can do, must do. These are musts. See, I don't know you as an individual, so I'm going to give you some tips that are the basic foundation. And if you follow these basic tips, you will find success. However, you did see me emphasize the positive. You have to have a positive outlook. You have to drop that negativity of, I didn't find this, or this happened in my past. You have to change your way of thinking, speaking, and behaving towards the positive. You have to be open to opportunities, and that means a mindset change. So let's work on that. Let's understand what many women, not all women want, but many women. See, if we can put the odds in our favor, we're going to be successful. As you know, nothing is 100%. But I want to give you the advantage. And I said the advantage. And once you have the advantage, see, everybody wants to win. But I'm going to give you the advantage. You see, the difference between the advantage and complete winning is, in a winning situation, it's either win or lose. And that's discouraging. It breaks confidence. Well, when you come from the idea or the perspective that you're in the advantage, it means it may work, it may not, but you don't give up. You understand the possibility is in your favor, so you are enjoying life and it's beautiful, and you're going to challenge yourself and work through it. See, a lot of people say it's not the destination, it's the journey. Well, I believe that's true. A lot of it is about enjoying what you're doing. See, when you're not reaching your goals and it's a win or lose situation, you're not enjoying it. You're not. Because you feel failure. You feel negative. And then you get this negative connotation going on. So instead of all or nothing, think of the positive attitude of the possibility. And that's what the advantage does. It gives you that things will go your way. And if you apply my strategies, you will be successful. Most definitely. Anything you put work into, the more work and learning that you apply during that work, you will be successful. Period. That's what you need to know. It's the effort that you keep putting forth, the learning, the belief, the understanding that you are going to be the person that you want to be, you desire to be. So what you need to understand is, what do some of these women want? Because everyone has wants and needs. The problem is we forgot. We have our wants and we focus on our wants so bad that we don't go past that. We stop there. It's like a fence. Instead of getting over and understanding, hey, wait, I know what I want. I want this, I want this, I want. Yes, you do want all those things. However, the other person wants things too. And if you can't merge those wants and needs and understand them, you will not have them. See, a lot of times when we get into relationships, they're beautiful at the beginning because we're starting to understand the wants and needs, and we appreciate and show respect for the wants and needs of that other individual. However, as time goes on, we focus less on their wants and needs and more on ours. And as we do that, we lose them. They could be sitting right in front of us, but we lose them because we forgot about their wants and needs. So, what are some of their wants and needs? And we're going to discuss that. Women want or think a light beard or heavy stubble is much more attractive than a close shave. They prefer men who keep themselves up. For example, men who have dreads. They want their dreads, however, they want to make sure that they're well taken care of, not all over the place. The facial hair, whether it's beards, they don't want beards that are unkept, or Man bun. The man bun is not as popular as people try to think. It's not preferred. It's actually considered kryptonite to at least 65 to 70% of women. The mustache is considered somewhat sexy. Keep it trimmed, well groomed, and the chest hair. About 70% of women prefer some body hair, not excessive, but a little bit of chest hair is good. It's simply put, when it comes to appearances, you got to keep yourself up, well kept. Think about all the work that women do to take care of themselves. If you can do 20% of that, you're in good shape. But you have to think of what your woman is doing. She is making sure that she puts herself together and keeps herself up for many reasons, not just for you, but it's the art of understanding what she is doing. And if you're not congruent with that, if you're not giving acknowledgement to that, when you see a woman who's very well taken care of, she looks fantastic, whatever, look at what she's doing and try to compliment that. Looks do matter in the sense that we can gain a lot of information. Look at how she's taking care of herself and try to balance yourself with that. They do not want someone that's not in their caliber, does not carry game. They want someone consistent with themselves, people that can hold them up and carry themselves well. It's all about being able to relate. And the more authentic you are, the better it is. See, you're going to attract that woman if you're genuine, right? If she's the one for you, she will be attracted to you if you are who you say you are, not who you pretend to be. So you want to be as genuine as possible. So be yourself. And if that doesn't work for her, she's not the one for you. You don't need to worry, right? It will be for the one you really want in your life when you're genuine. You don't have to change your stripes. You don't have to alter your behavior. See, some men make the mistake that, oh, they give this persona that they're one person and there's perception that they have all these items or assets, and they build this up in someone's mind that they are who they really aren't. And then in the end, it doesn't pan out because they're not being genuine. So we put on these masks to fool the person, to attract them, to get them in our lives. And it rarely works out. So remember to be genuine and authentic and give her something. Give her a little bit of game. Use your eyes to get her approval, to get that green light. I mean, glance at her lips for at least 7 seconds. And if she nods and smiles, that's a signal. You see, a lot of men take this eye contact thing to the extreme level. They overstare. They don't understand the intricacies of eye contact. That's a whole different game that we're going to get into. But I'm going to tell you, because I'm outlining some strategies that are very effective, that eye contact, that nonverbal communication is a game changer. However, I'm going to tell you that many men overstare, they lust, they show their neediness, and they present as low value men, and they encourage the old stereotype that men just want sex. So they stare and they look like dogs with their tongue hanging out, and it's not attractive. So you got to get away from that. You have to be subtle. However, on the opposite end of the spectrum, men don't look at all at women. They find it hard to even look in their eyes, period. So that eye communication, the eye contact, is just skewed. It's non existent. It shows inferiority. It shows vulnerability. It shows doubt. It shows neediness, insecurity. It shows that you are a man that does not know how to communicate properly. You lack confidence, and you must learn to develop your confidence. And the way you develop your confidence is by listening and following the counselor, because his goal is for everyone to improve in areas that they need improvement in, that best suits them. You see, most people think that all women are attracted to guys who have those big muscles or muscle men. Well, they are attracted to muscle men. They do. Women do love men who are well built and take care of their bodies for sure, right? But that really only applies if they're genuinely looking for a fling, a fling thing. You know, it's really an attraction thing. It's not really for long term relationships. So if you don't have that muscular body, there's no need for you to worry. Taking care of yourself, keeping yourself up, you don't need to go to any extremes. You need to take care of yourself. But if you're not a muscle man, don't worry about it. Just understand it's not a major factor for women when it comes to long term courtship. It appears that many people are on social media, and the problem is that women love their social media just like men do. And the problem is that we have Facebook, Twitter, all these accounts out there. And see, you need to go through those. You need to edit, spiff up your social media, put it together the way you need to, in the sense that you need to take care of your social media pages. That means any unflattering pictures that you may have from the past, you have to make sure that gets cleared up. If you have old relationships, if you're flirting too much online, if you're engaging in negative behavior or immature behavior. See, this is where you understand that social media matters. So your presence on social media could be easily tapped into. And you might think your game, your conversation, whatever you're putting forth is the package. Not true. You have to cover all your bases, and social media especially. So make sure you go on there and clean it up. Get rid of old negativity, old flames, things that may give a negative impression of you to anyone who may go on your social media. And you have to hit the real advantage of understanding that 99% of women understand that having a funny man is just as important as how he looks. And when you're in communication and conversation, you want to kind of stay away from serious topics at first, initially. Just think about how you are when you may be more relaxed in playful moods. Yeah. Think about not being too sarcastic or too sensitive or too touchy. Keep things light and simple. Ask her questions and make sure that you compliment her. Praise her is different than complimenting her. Keep the compliments genuine and simple. Notice things. Women take a lot of time to take care of themselves. They understand and appreciate a man who notices things. Women can be very detail oriented. You have to be at least receptive to this. And be mindful of this control thing. Too much control is not good for trying to attract a woman. Many men make the mistake of trying to get in there and overdo it. They become overzealous and automatically get into this control mode. Like, for example, I had a friend that was going to the gym regularly, and he didn't know that I had a female friend who was attending the same gym. And I had a talk with her after they had some communication when they were working out. They didn't know that I was going to tap into this conversation. However, when speaking to them separately, I found that my male friend actually thought that he did a great job communicating with her, um, and didn't think anything of it. But however, when I spoke to my female friend, she had mentioned that she wasn't really interested in it because he took this approach where when she was working out, he was trying to act like her trainer, telling her the proper moves, telling her how to do everything properly, rather than being a supportive person. See, what he failed to do was he tried to use control to show his dominance, his male side, and he was mistaken, sadly mistaken. What he should have done, instead of trying to show her, oh, you're doing this wrong, this is how you do it, that approach, he should have actually been supportive in the sense that he could spot her. So if she needed some support, then you help her, you know. But trying to tell her that she's doing things wrong and, this is how you do it properly, it became a turnoff for her. And she just was not impressed at all, didn't even want to bother with her. And I thought that was an interesting conversation that we had. So it's better to um, be genuine and not get in there and try to uh, have this I know best mentality. Because then, see, that's you working alone. You're not really wanting somebody to work with you. You're actually trying to show them that, you know what, I know better. And see, when you come from that I know better mentality, it's not going to work because you're not working as a team. The places you frequent also matters, right? See, there's an environment that many men skip, like a low key, family friendly vibe of a grocery store. This gives women some sense of comfort and safety, right? And if the environment's right and you do approach a woman casually and introduce yourself, it's quite easy. Unfortunately, many men take this opportunity to use one liners on women. It's so cheesy, corny, and unattractive. And all it really does is get them turned off. They roll their eyes and dismiss you. It doesn't lead anywhere because you don't understand that it's not the place where you become obvious. You have to learn to communicate. So that is a safe place. However, communication has to be developed on approach. You need to learn to relax. Take deep, slow breaths. Calm down enough to be yourself, the best self that you can be. Mastering proper nose breathing calms you and makes your brain sharper. And it really works. Observe. Be genuine. Don't talk about subjects that are just out there to interest. Talk about things that are actually happening in your life. And make sure the conversations lead somewhere. 90% of men out there are having conversations with women that don't lead anywhere. It's redundant. It's ridiculous. Get over it. Make sure your conversation's leading somewhere. Don't just have a conversation to have a conversation. Which means lead somewhere. That just means that when you're talking, make sure that you have a goal or a purpose to your talk. For example, if you're approaching a woman and you say, hey, it's a nice day out here. The weather's great. It just came from this golf tournament. It was wonderful. However, I got to get back to it. And the next half hour, I'm here on my lunch. And you know what? It'd be interesting if we could meet up again sometime. This is after you have an initial conversation. Make sure it leads somewhere. Don't just talk just to hear yourself talk. That's what I'm saying. Make sure you have some sort of lead that goes somewhere and has a purpose. Because one of the biggest things that turns women off is somebody that just likes to hear themselves speak. I would rather want to know, what do you want? If you know what I mean, and you're not being forceful. And it could happen over a couple periods of conversations that you see this person each time you go, and little by little, but it leads somewhere. Mindless chatter wastes time. And you have to appreciate people's time. You don't want to waste people's time. You have to respect it and value the importance of it. And make sure in your conversation you're talking to her about her. Ask her about herself, and she'll be more likely to feel connected to you. especially when you're on a date. Don't aim to make her think you're the most interesting person out there. Aim to make her think she is. Let her know she's valued. Be aware of what not to say on the first date. That is so important. Don't be a braggart. Don't get overindulged in yourself. Be a good listener. And a lot of times in your conversations, if you listen, you will hear her interests. She will highlight what she values. And you can ride on that. You can talk about that. But you need to be a good listener. Too many men are talking and they're talking to themselves, even though they have somebody right in front of them. They're talking to themselves because they're the only ones listening to themselves. She's checked out a long time ago because all you're doing is talking about what you can do or what you've done or what you plan to do, right? We forgot about that individual, the care that it takes. Many have said you only get one chance to make a first impression, so follow these basics. How many of you have nice, fast cars or, live in homes or condos downtown or, you've been accredited with the smarts, so you want to brag about it? Well, that's one thing you don't do. Keep that stuff to yourself. If you're only talking about yourself, you're going to be by yourself. If you have a dog, get yourself to that dog park. You see, women associate men who have dogs with being gentle, kind, patient, caring. These are all commonalities that they appreciate. So you want to show that. Now, if you don't have a dog, that's wonderful. And if you want to get a dog, get a dog. But get a dog that you love and care for. But it's just something that women appreciate. They understand that. And it's more comforting to them. So get to a dog park. If you have a dog, great. If you don't, go get one. And don't be afraid to use flattery. See, if she thinks she's smart, tell her she's pretty. If she thinks she's pretty, tell her she's smart. Keeping her a bit off balance, as long as you're not rude or condescending about it. It will intrigue her to the very least. See, in this world of 2020, there's too many men, they don't know which role to play. Because there are women out there who are feminists and they want to pay for everything. And so I'm going to err on the side of caution. I'm going to say you got to treat them right. The women have to be treated right. So you have to know when to be that gentleman, to bring in those traditions. And I'd have to say, you got to make her feel special. Respect her, right? And understand that 80% of couples appreciate when the guy pays on the first date. So just keep that in mind. I know a lot of them will insist to pay. Let them pay if they want to pay. But be who you got to be. But understand, I'm giving you the advantage. And if you understand the advantage, follow it as a rule, please. If I told you the advantages is they prefer you to pay on the first date, do that, please. There are opportunities when communicating with women. See, you have to look for moments that linger. See, if she's close to you, and even if her eyes or her head is down, or things may seem a little bit awkward, like you have an awkward moment, or possibly you might have run out of things to say. See, this is a good opportunity for you to make a move or express your purpose. See, a lot of us aren't really great at reading body language. It's one of the things that it's just a mystery to many of us. So sometimes you gotta say what you want or ask. And this is very dangerous for a majority of men. That fear, right? They're scared. The hair on the back of their neck, it just goes up. It just shows the little boy in them comes out because they don't know what to say. But if you can't read the body language, you're going to have to ask. See, the reason why it's so disturbing for men is because it's what? It's rejection. They're afraid of being rejected. And we've gotten to that point where we're afraid to be rejected. And you can't. That's the sign of a low value man. You're too afraid to get the nose. So say something like, you know what? You're incredibly beautiful, and I'd really like to kiss you. And you just wait. If she doesn't say no or run, go for it. It's a bold move, but at least you have said your stay. You've established your purpose. And if you get the no and she's gone, hey, if it works out well, fantastic. If it doesn't, don't beat yourself up on it. Learn to accept rejection. Place it where it belongs. Don't overdo it. Don't overindulge. Don't beat yourself up to the point where you just stop engaging altogether. Just learn. Learn from each and every experience, right? Just make sure you don't play games. Be genuinely interested. I mean, the first date went relatively well. State that you would like a second date. Let her know right away. Try to make a date for a couple dates. Who knows? But just let them know. Vulnerability combined with confidence, right? She may say no, but if you're asking her anyway, it shows some sexiness and strength. It's just the truth. It's just how it is. You want to know what's comfortable for your date. So let's say you want to understand her mode of communication, what she prefers, because nothing turns a woman off as if you're communicating ineffectively. For example, if she prefers emails and text messages over phone calls, find that out. Ask. Because nothing's going to irritate them more as if you're calling up their phone all the time. It's just a turn off. It's just going to get you dismissed and you will be blocked. Or it's just not good for you. So know her form of communication. What mode of communication does she prefer? Establish that from the outset. And if you do cancel a date, just make sure that you reschedule one as soon as possible. No one likes to be held on to or waiting in the wings. It's just a bad impression. It shows a sign of disrespect. And when it comes to sexual department, you have to understand that it's not a contest. So make sure that you understand that it's about closeness and connection as well about pleasing her, but you might not be able to do it all the time. If you can, that's wonderful, but don't be afraid to be that intimate individual that texts her sexy messages, lets her know you desire her. And I mean text, not sex where you're being inappropriate or being too nasty. None of that foolishness. Unless she starts the sexting, then you can return the sexting. However, keep it light, flirty, but not gross and disgusting or overindulgent. There are a few simple rules when it comes to texting, not sexting, right? That a man wants to maintain his self respect in his class. He has to be patient, right? Be patient, patient, patient. Start with words, not pictures, words. Pictures later. Words, keep it simple. Much more words than any picture. This is a much better way to find out if she's into sexting, right? Just using words. If she ignores your messages or sends vague or non-sexual responses, you'll know not to increase the pictures. Eventually, you'll get the message that it's not appreciated. Getting the silent treatment after a text is much easier on the LOL than getting a silent treatment after sending her a picture of your private part. Think about it. It just makes sense. Go slow. Get a sense, right? Some people, especially guys, they take their sexting adventures way too quickly. Women like the slow tease. Women want to be seduced. So be suggestive rather than explicit. Keep it simple. Like I keep replaying last night over and over in my mind. I can't stop thinking about you. I've been thinking about some of the things I'd like to do to you. next time we're together. Things like that. And if she responds positively, you can increase it gradually, more and more. Maybe eventually get to the sexting. But follow her lead. Follow the lead with pictures, especially. You can think about escalating the pictures, but follow her lead. Make sure you're not being one of those adventurous, non informative individuals that's just sending a dick pic out of thin air. No, you got to get consent. This is the rule. Get consent for anything that you do, right? You want her to see your pictures, but you don't want her to be scared or threatened by them. Seriously, take this serious. Women hate it. Unsolicited. They really hate the unsolicited dick pics, right? You never know what she might do with the picture, anyways. She might be somewhere that it's not appropriate, and now all of a sudden she sees this thing. Like, some people can be so rude, but they do it despite. So keep this in mind. Rule: you need consent before you do anything like that. You have to know the person. You got to get their approval. They have to be into it, but you also be aware that you just don't do it. You don't just send random pictures because you want to surprise her. Not a good move at all. Make sure you're communicating effectively so that it's something that you are very clear that she accepts this type of communication. And remember to keep it private, please. You always run the risk of your text being seen by others. There's just too many ways that your privacy can be compromised. These pics of yours, these private little pics, can be um, shown up in the notification screen. She might lose her phone. She could get hacked. She might show her friends. Her friends could be looking through her phone. She'll get very upset and angry and annoyed if this happens, right? And remember, this isn't for everyone. There's a certain percent of men out there that actually do this sexting, and you have to be cautious, careful, and know who you're dealing with. It has to be consensual. So make sure you're using the right technology if you're doing this, right? You could take steps like disabling your chat history or checking out apps that confide, bleep, hide, or signal. These things protect messages from prying eyes. Texting apps like Snapchat, these aren't encrypted, and this could leave you vulnerable, even to a hack. Someone can gain access to you or your significant other's phone. Just keep that in mind at all times. We have to learn to pay attention to women. We have to do things that let them know that we hear them. And the way we do that is listening to them is a big one. So, for example, if your um, partner says that she's feeling a lot of frustration and stress, make some suggestions to help her alleviate some of that stress, like getaway days, or do a little bit of plan with her approval of making dinner, or give her some massage, let her relax. uh, if there's a bill, help her with it. Take some initiative, pay attention, listen. Don't pay all her bills. That's not the point. The point is you want to support her wherever you can by taking some initiative, being that person that she can count on. But first, you have to pay attention to her and listen to her, observe, and don't make assumptions. And be passionate about showing her respect. Let her know how much you admire her and look up to her. Keep the passion up. Make sure you understand that you always show her respect, admiration, and appreciation. That is the key to sustainability: respect, admiration, appreciation. And when it comes to arguing or fighting, right? Getting into these verbal fights, you never put your hands on a woman ever. That should go without saying, however many Not many men. Well, you're not a man if you're putting your hands on a woman. Anyways, but my point is fight gently. See, in the moment, men often forget they're larger and their voices are much more deeper. So you have to argue without bullying or being aggressive or intimidating. In ways you go about doing this is that you acknowledge that there's a right and there's a wrong time to argue. Simply put, an argument should only really happen in private. You might not want to wait to hash things out because of what's going on. However, your actions and responses and reactions are going to be different when you're upset or when you've got many eyeballs on you, staring at you, listening to your every word. That should be a rule. Privacy. And make sure you're not just putting the blame on your partner, pointing the finger, right? Or making phrases that trigger defensiveness, like, what's wrong with you? Why would you do that? Or how do you think that would be a great idea? Really? See, this sets your partner up for defending themselves, and it creates more of a problem than anything. They start to battle. It's accusatory. Stay away from that and try to understand where they're coming from. Regardless of what the situation is, you're going to manage the conversation much more effectively if you try to understand what's their point of view. She's going to have her point of view. She's going to have issues. She's going to be upset, and her priorities, they might not seem important to you, but they can be monumental to her. If she's unhappy, you want to be more empathetic and understanding and respond with empathy. Even if you don't fully understand it, try your best to avoid comments that make her feel isolated, like, oh, what's the big deal? Or oh, you're just overreacting. This is quite dismissive. And stick to the facts. Right? Be accurate. Try to find out what's bothering her. Using words such as always, you're always doing this, you never do this, or these are absolutes. And they could be an exaggeration that makes them feel worse. So try to remove that focus from that type of wording. Try to keep it specific. If there's something that's bothering you specifically that they're doing, state that. Don't try to use exaggerations. Watch your tone and your volume. No one responds well to being yelled at or somebody with a snippy attitude or sarcastic behavior. So you're yelling, that's threatening. Speak softly, calmly. Try to stay as calm as you can. I know you might raise your voice, but bring it down. Understand, right? Try to remain as calm as you can. And this is where I recommend people start doing um, mindful exercises. It really helps. It helps you avoid a lot of arguments when you're doing mindful exercises because you actually get in touch with yourself and you start learning about yourself and how to respond. And if one thing I can recommend, you can act, but don't react. Just listen. Don't react. Because when you react, eventually you're going to be elevated and you're going to overreact. There's a difference. There's a real difference. Just make sure you're trying to get to the root of the problem. Most problems come from one thing: our expectations of others to meet one of our needs, which are actually wants, right? Both of you need to know what you expect from each other. And you need to be realistic about it. It's quite easy to talk out of turn. Try to talk and express yourself one at a time. And remember, a lot of people don't feel validated. So when they don't get heard, they have a tendency to dig in deeper and then argue to win. Despite what the problem was, it gets lost And what we end up doing is we get defensive. So, one of the most effective things you can say during a standoff is, I want to hear what you have to say, right? And this lets her know she's being respected and that you truly value her. You just don't want to win. You want to talk. You want to really work it out. You're not just there arguing for the sake of being right. And when necessary, I strongly believe that you should take time. Take some time out. Give a little bit of space if you need for a moment. I'm not talking about run away. I'm talking about take a break. Especially if you're both frustrated, you're tired, you've been arguing for a while, things have been thrown or slammed, or somebody's being dismissive and the comments keep coming and you keep squaring off, right? You want to table the argument as soon as possible and come back to it after you've had somewhat of a break. Give yourself a 30-minute window. Allows the tension to go for a walk if you have to. You want to be able to cool your brain down. And this is important when you want to sort things out. It just makes sense. Think about how you feel. This will give you an opportunity to think, where is she coming from? What's going on? And you can do the self-talk. It's a wonderful thing. I've done it many times where I might be frustrated. I go for a walk and I might even be voicing out my anger or frustration, but it does miracles. It really does. And if you're not ready to re-enter that house, go for a walk again around that block. Because going back into a volatile situation is just detrimental to your relationship. And when you do decide to get back into that house, make sure that you have a different mindset, different attitude. You're willing to meet her halfway. And be prepared to say sorry. That's one of the hardest things we do. As time goes on, I find that people find it increasingly difficult to use the word I'm sorry. Especially if you blew up. If you fired off a low blow, and women don't want to hear that foolishness. So when you do make a mistake, learn to apologize immediately. Say, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I didn't really mean it. Let me rephrase it. Calling it out immediately is much more effective than apologizing later. Oh, you know what, I'm not. Because a lot of times you don't even apologize later, and it doesn't even really matter. If you say things, don't let them linger on with these bad feelings. It's just terrible for the relationship. You say things, make mistakes, calm yourself down, make the apologies, because we all say things. And if you're not used to saying sorry, that's okay, but apply it when it's genuine. But even if it's not, all of us get heated. And we get this I don't care mentality. And we go on and on and on, and we're saying things we just don't mean, but we don't know how to back up. And you've hurt that person. You forget that you're dealing with an individual who has feelings because you're only worried about yourself. Right? And when you do go through this process and you've apologized or whatever, watch out with the humor, because there are people who immediately try to integrate humor, right? But when you do that, you have to be careful. Humor can lighten the mood or lighten the fuse for an explosion. However, it can be dismissive. So timing is everything. So just make sure you wait until after you both settle down and come to some sort of resolution before cracking a light joke. Don't use any sarcasm. You know, just smile and say things like, "Wow, that really got me upset. That really worked me up." And be genuine in it. Don't be sarcastic. And make sure you're not repeating yourself. You like we do that though. We get in an argument and we reiterate the same point over and over and over. So when you say something, mix it up, right? Say something like, you obviously feel strongly about this, or I want to hear your opinion. Even if we disagree, let's come to some sort of understanding. Don't keep hammering the same thing over and over and over. You have to validate her feelings, but only if you're being genuine. Mocking her will only amp up her anger and frustration. It brings them to another level that you won't be prepared for because you have your own agenda and you're not really looking for things to get better. You're just looking to prove your point or prove you're right. You might have had an argument that's so explosive is that she might feel that she needs a break. Well, you're going to have to allow it. Let her breathe. Regardless of the outcome, you're going to need to give her some space. It doesn't have to be final, but you're going to have to give her some space. I mean, there's some people that make the mistake that they end up stalking her, right? They do, they become obsessive. And it's because they lack some understanding. See, if they do walk away, there's usually a few reasons why women do walk away and stay away. One of them is if you suck in bed, if you suck in the sack, sex sucks and they're not happy. Or you're too needy, right? You're one of those persons that always needs their attention, you're overbearing, you're always in their personal space, right? You're just too grabby, or you're like a freak. You always want her, wanting her all the time, and you don't know how to turn it off, right? As well, if you could be a mama's boy, you act like a mama's boy. All you do is act like a mama's boy, and women, they'll feel like they're not priority because you're always looking up to your mom or listening to your mom, and you know you're always calling your mom. You're just a mama's boy. It's a turn off for a lot of them. Or you're a control freak. You always want to micromanage them, whether it's finances, you're critiquing their cooking, or you're challenging their decisions, right? It's just something that it's a bad thing. Or you could be one of those ones who are nasty. Your hygiene habits are very questionable. Not to mention, you could be self absorbed, right? You're a narcissist. You have this inability to stay in a long term relationship, right? You're off there focusing on other things, other women, doing other things, but you're not paying attention to the. Many of us try to salvage the relationship despite these things. However, if you do have to call it quits, and you'll both know if it's really over, just be kind about it because the behavior that you exhibit in your relationship, especially during 2020, it's something that can get out there, especially with all these platforms, Facebook, Twitter, just Snapchat, all this. So just make sure you behave yourself well and you're kind and respectful and you treat women with respect and dignity. Don't be a sourpuss. Don't be vindictive, revengeful, or be one of those individuals who just can't move on, so they show the worst part of themselves during the end. And there are ways that you can definitely demonstrate your dignity and class as you see the relationship dialing down. There's certain things you don't want to do. Don't disappear, like stop taking her calls or ignoring her texts and emails. Or don't try to move to a different city, you know? Just act like yourself. Be casual and cool in the communication. Don't blame, you know? Especially if she's messed around on you. You could say definitely that she's wrong, but don't hold that pain in your heart. Let it go. Maybe you're with the person that you shouldn't have been with. Maybe she wasn't the right person after all. It is what it is. Look at it as something that she has to deal with, and you're moving forward in your life, right? Could have been with her for a long time. And yes, it hurts, but you don't want to torture her, say things that are mean, being mean until she definitely runs away from you, right? Just make sure that you're not being vindictive. Don't pity yourself, right? Don't start to feel too sorry for yourself, right? It's usually about self esteem and your mentality where you thinking, oh, I'll never get anybody. So you start pitying yourself. Oh, poor me, right? So you start delivering these long, sad speeches as you go. And don't try to be revengeful by taking her items, right? Looting her life, right? Allowing yourself to take up items that are valuable to her, whereas you can't move forward because you're holding things back from her so that she could keep coming back to you, negotiating for it's so petty, but it happens. It's such a common theme out there in the dating world where we want them to negotiate their things. It's just a power struggle. It's just, it doesn't look good. It's not classy. And watch it being too aggressive, losing control and freaking out, right? Because these are meltdowns that prove you're dangerous to women. Could be even children around. And this could be a lifetime thing on how you work out your situations and handle it. Right? It's just, it's not an excuse. You're not going to give an excuse for your brutality. So if you panic, try to dial it back and try again. Don't leave your partner with the impression that you are dangerous and you pose a threat to all women. So keep it cool, because we know that these relationships tend to garner enemies. And despite what you both been through, she's not your enemy. You were in a relationship and it didn't work. So you start behaving in ways otherwise you wouldn't behave. Like maybe asking her for sex when you know it's scaling down, or getting involved with your ex while you know you're still in the relationship. It's almost over. You know you're both planning to go your way. So what do? You becoming disgustingly disrespectful, and you start sleeping with the ex to get back at them, right? Or to discuss your current situation. It's a bad play, and it shows terrible manners and respect for yourself. And finally, just make sure that you're setting the stage. Always say goodbye in person, in a quiet, well lit place, preferably a neutral spot, somewhere in public. Because if you are dumping her, and it's a bad term, but it's used a lot, you want to make sure it's in a public place if you can, because you want to avoid her being too embarrassed by crying or having a heated fight. You want to let her know you need to get something heavy off your chest. Make sure you do it without the use of alcohol. Do not involve booze at all. It's a bad thing for you, for sure, for both of you. Be clear minded so that your communication is clear and you both have an understanding of what's going on. Well, my listeners, I'd have to say we've covered some really good information today, and you're trying to find that special someone. There's certain ways you do it, and when you do get in a relationship, you have to conduct yourself in a certain manner. And understanding this is important for all relationships. So we've gone through these stages that you may encounter, and I really strongly recommend that you learn about communicating, verbal communication and nonverbal communication. Body language is just, it's everything. It can tell you a lot without saying anything. But to understand one thing, it's paramount that you understand. A lot of us who aren't successful in relationships is because we're not working on ourselves. We have to look at ourselves and find out what we really want. And are we clear on what we really want? Because if you don't know yourself, you're definitely not going to know someone else, and you're not going to attract the right people to you. Know what you're looking for. Understand your strengths and your needs. Be as genuine as you can, and you will be fine. So I want to say thank you to all my listeners. Be like the wise old bird and spread the word. And I appreciate you. Take care of yourself.